Hi guys. So I wanted to talk to you about saving your money as a farmer. Now it can get really exciting when you get your tax return money and you start to receive seed catalogs. It gets really exciting. I'm there with you 500%. But if you order everything all at once, then what will happen is spring will come and you'll have this huge influx of packages. And this is the way that I would recommend doing it instead. I will take my top priority. This year, my top priority is nut trees. I have planted nut trees before. However, nut trees have a taproot that is very sensitive. And I had 200 trees show up all at the same time. And by the time I got to my nut trees, I was really tired. I didn't want to dig a deep hole. I was exhausted. And it was our first year here, so we still had cobblestones. Instead of having nice, open, happy soil that it had mulch and manure on it, all I had was cobblestones with a little bit of silt in between. And it's very hard to dig a hole in cobblestones. It's like trying to dig a hole in a gravel road. And so I had 200 trees to plant, and by the time I got to my nut trees, I was exhausted. They were the last ones that I did. They had lovely roots, but I cut them off and just plopped them in the ground because I was so tired. And they were one of the few trees I had that really couldn't take that treatment. They just can't. They have that taproot. So I have 2 trees that have survived. I planted 4 or 5 butternuts and I think 3 black walnuts. I received more than that, but I was so tired I just gave them to friends, and theirs are beautiful, are big and beautiful, but my next door neighbor was one that I gave some of those trees to, and his are beautiful and big, but he's lived there for his whole life. It's where he grew up. And he's an excellent farmer and gardener, and his soil was prepared and loose and lovely, and so his made it and mine didn't. Now, what we've been focusing on the last few years have been our fruit trees. Most of them are in the deep mulch backyard, but when they started to do okay, I took some trees that I got for free from a friend and planted them in other spots where I had deeply mulched that I thought they would do okay. So the last 2 years, I haven't spent money on trees per se. Early in the year, if you call your local nurseries, you can request bare root fruit trees, and that's what I did this last year. So I was getting $60 fruit trees for $10 because I ordered them bare root. They didn't have to pot them, and those are some of the ones that I put around in different parts of the property that I'm hoping they'll make it. Again, everything has made it in the deep mulch system in the backyard without having to be intensively watered. So anyway, back to the point of the story is that this year, what I'm doing is focusing on nut trees. And instead of getting bare root, I'm going to get potted nut trees, and I'm going to get them from Stark Brothers because they have a really good warranty, and they have some grafted ones that look like they'll make it in my area. And most of all, because they're potted. Because they're potted, the roots have already been taken care of. The roots are going to be happy. They're going to be really, really good functional trees. And I only ordered 3. I got, I got 4 because I got 2 black walnut seedlings, 1 quick crop walnut, and 1 butternut. And it came to $70, and then I had like $18 shipping, and it was really tempting because it said if I ordered $95 worth of stuff, I get free shipping. But you have to take into account your time. When those trees get here, you have to have a hole ready for them and big enough for them that you can just plop them in and have them be happy. It's a really big deal, and so I ordered 4 because I know I can dig 4 really good holes. Can I dig 12 really good holes? Probably not. So I limited it severely to what I believe that I can take care of really well. The other thing I was really tempted to do was fill in the holes for my wild crafting hedge, my food hedge that I have for my livestock to eat off of. Because I have dead soil, and I've been working on it for 3 years now. It's better than it was. I lost 3/4 of my trees. Most of them in the front. I have only lost 4. I think I've lost 4 in my windbreak in the back, but I've lost 100 or more in the front because of the pesticide problems and because of the voles. In the back, I have lots of rocks. It keeps the voles out better. In the front, I have silt. It doesn't keep the voles out. In the back, it's been heavily watered. In the front, it has not been heavily watered, so we can't get the voles to wash out. So I'm only telling you that so you can see, even on a small property like ours, which is 1.5 acres, you can have so many different types of soil and different types of microclimates. Our backyard is like the face of the sun. It is so hot all the time. It's 20 degrees hotter in the backyard than anywhere else on our property. And it's because we have a white siding that glances back down onto our white straw that bounces back up to the white siding, and it's just very, very warm. So of course what I'd like to do is fill in my windbreak, because it would be nice to have it look nice and to feel like it's getting somewhere. However, I'm not exactly sure that I have solved all the problems that I had that caused those trees to die. So rather than wasting my time and planting yet more trees that I have to get yet more water to, and more mulch and more fertilizer to, instead I'm just going to watch my trees this year. I'm going to make sure all my systems are in order, and I will have these new nut trees to focus on. So that's just kind of what I wanted to say. And then I took the cost of the trees and put them in my notebook, when they're supposed to show up, what my order number is, and that way if for some reason they lose my information, I still have my order number. I can say, nope, this is what you owed me, this is when I paid for it, and I paid cash for it. So it came to, I think, $87 with shipping. And I prefer to get my wildcrafting trees from my friend up in St. Anthony that has a tree farm. So most of my wildcrafting plants come from there. The only ones I order online are from Coldstream Farm. I think it's in Michigan, and they have really good prices. There's some things that she just doesn't carry. She has a lot, but again, sometimes there's just things like witch hazel is something I want to get into, and knick, which is bearberry. Is that bearberry? Isn't that right? Uva ursi. So witch hazel, there's just some random things that I want to put in and see how they do. This morning I was kind of panicking because I was looking at my seed catalogs. But here's the thing. Order first what your highest priority is, that is high quality, that you have a place for, and that you think might sell out. So that's one of the reasons I ordered so early from Stark Brothers, was because I was concerned that they would sell out of the nuts that I wanted. And I focused very, very strongly on self-pollinating. If it self-pollinates, it means you don't have to buy 2, so the cost goes down. You don't have to dig an extra hole, and you don't have to find extra space for it. All of my walnuts are going to be along the northeast side of our property, because we have a long line along the fence line between us and our neighbors. There's nothing planted there, so the juglone in the walnuts will not be able to poison anything. He doesn't have any trees close to that fence line. I don't have any trees close to that fence line. The whole thing will be walnuts, so that the juglone isn't killing anything. That's one thing you have to remember about the walnut family, is that the roots and the leaves will poison other plants. So there's that. Save your money. And the other thing is, it's only January. The best time to put in my cover crop, which is the other thing that I really need to buy, is the end of February, when we start to get our first thaw. That's the best time for me to put in my clover, which means I have got a whole I have a whole like 5 weeks before I need to buy the clover. It's not going to be expensive, but if I tried to buy it now, it means I'd be at almost $100 in gardening stuff already, and I have to make that money stretch for the whole month, and it has to also cover all of my animals and feed and anything like that needs to come in. So so that's my one garden purchase for this month. I bought nut trees. Next month, what I'm going to buy is potting soil and clover. The potting soil is so that I can fill up my boxes that I will be putting my transplants into, that will then be going out into the hotbed. So next month will be dirt, And then the month after that will be probably more clover, and any kind of garden seed that I find didn't come up will be in March. That anything that can be planted out that's a cold start, I need to start anything that's a warm start now or in February so that it's up enough. But it's a juggling act. Make sure you're not trying to spend it all in at one time. Make sure you're spacing it out between the months. It's fun to have something new to get every month. Make sure that if you are ordering off of eBay or Amazon and it's a plant, don't order it until it's actually time to plant it, because that's been my mistake. I think of them as being like a nursery where they'll wait and send it to you when is the appropriate time to plant it. And instead what they do is the minute you order it, they send it to you. And I've had that happen 2 times with kiwis, the Arctic cold hardy kiwis, which is foolish. So for those things that you're ordering that are a good price on Amazon or eBay, order those the same week that you need them. The ones that have done really well here, of all of the others that survived, it was Anna Meter, I think is what it's called. It was a duo of hardy kiwi, not Arctic kiwi, hardy kiwi, and they've done really well. But I put them in a box with potting soil rather than directly into my soil, just because the kiwi has been really, really sensitive to my soil. I've replanted kiwi 5 times, and every time it's died, except for this last time when I put it in, just like everything else, I put it in a cardboard box that had straw and rabbit manure in the bottom and potting soil in it, and I just put that in the ground. And that's been the one that's made it. I planted an Isay kiwi at the same time and put it directly in the ground, and it was really healthy when it got here, and it died way before we ever had any kind of frost. It died in the middle of the summer. I just couldn't keep it alive and happy in my dirt. And I've heard that a lot from other gardeners in the area, so I don't know if maybe there's a mineral imbalance or it's just too alkaline. Our soil is very alkaline. What will help with alkalinity is manure and mulch. And so I'm hoping eventually that my dirt is happy enough that it can take that kind of thing. I wanted to point out that I got my Horizon Herb catalog. This is what it looks like. Again, this is my go-to for medicinal herbs. I have found a huge difference between the herbs that I grow and the herbs that I get at the health food store. There's no comparison at all between the dry herbs you get in the health food store and what you can grow. It's like they're different plants. One of them you're taking paper, the other one you're taking medicine, and that's just how simple it is. They have fantastic everything. My initial purchase from them was 2 or 3 years ago, and I think I ordered like $300 worth of stuff, and it's all still going strong. I don't need to make another order from them. Everything I got was perennial or self-seeding, perennial to my area specifically. I was very careful that if there was a plant that I'd heard good things about and it wasn't hardy to my area, I didn't grow it. Instead, I found a substitute that would be okay in my area. The difference would be is if you have a super warm microclimate or a big greenhouse. But in greenhouses, again, you have problems with pests, and you need to make sure it has good ventilation so that the medicine that is air and good air circulation can get to your plants. So anyway, there we go. Don't overspend. Little purchases. Think through everything. This last couple weeks, I have been really concerned about getting the hotbed up, because I have all these plants that are going to be ready here very shortly to go out into the greenhouse. And what I have come down to is, nope, I'm not going to buy plastic for it. I have a little bit of plastic. What I'm going to do, and this is the reason why it's important. Did the hotbed work? Yes. However, my greenhouse is so small that it won't fit 2 hotbeds. You need to have a spot for 2 hotbeds, because as one cools down, you're building the other one that will keep the heat up in the greenhouse. My greenhouse is only big enough to hold 1 hotbed, and so I had to be really careful when I start it. I can't start it before the middle of February, otherwise it will have wound down too far before we get into April, when I can take those boxes out and put them into cold frames. So what I'm going to do instead is take down the greenhouse that is over the hotbed, and I'm going to take straw bales and stack them around the outside of the hotbed itself. Then I'm going to build a frame so that I can put some lovely donated windows, unglazed, onto my hotbed so that I can keep the hotbed insulated so it will retain its heat, and I will just plant directly in there and have a hoop house, kind of a structure that's only like a couple of feet tall, over the hotbed, and then I will put on cold cloth at night. So I'll still be using the hotbed, but I do see that the structure of the greenhouse, well, it was important for me to do it so I could learn about it. It is flawed. For one thing, it's not sunk into the ground. I built the frame without sinking it into the ground. It has absolutely no foundation, and I see that it's tilting a little bit, and that concerns me for safety reasons. And then I will have had to replace the plastic, which will probably cost about $80 to replace the plastic, even if I get the super cheap stuff from Lowe's. And then what happens is that for the first 9 days after you start that hotbed, you have a huge amount of ammonia in the greenhouse. And if you don't get it vented properly, it's really hard on the seeds. And if you had any livestock in there, it would kill them. So if you're going to do hotbeds inside a greenhouse, you have to have a much larger greenhouse, and you have to have it very, very well very, very well ventilated. And so I'm kind of thinking that instead of experimenting more with that particular greenhouse hotbed, I'm going to wait until we get the big greenhouse up and see how that works. And before I put any of the animals in, I'm going to let the hotbed outgas and get all that ammonia out of there so that I'm not worried about gassing my poultry. Our chickens and everything are laying really strong right now. Kind of drives me crazy because, again, I don't have anywhere for them to go that stays warm enough that I can get out there to collect the eggs before they freeze. And the mama rabbit is due to kindle today. So it's all been super exciting. I'm trying to get everything put together because as spring comes a little closer, there's just a lot that I need to get done. And I'm still knitting. I have one of the Mayan wraps finished. I'm starting to collect supplies for the journals that you guys have. I need to get started on knitting little dog clothes for my mom. And what else is there? I've just got a lot of little projects, and it's nice. I've got, plenty to keep me busy, and I'm really excited to get those nut trees ordered. I've been worried about it for a long time, trying to think of a way to not order them bare root, and then ta-da! Stark Brothers catalog came, so that was super fun. And we have the pigs being butchered on the 29th, so we have a week left before the pigs are butchered. We're just going to take them to the regular butcher again because we just don't have a good convenient way to get them up into the trailer to take them to the butcher that would scrape them, and it would cost us a lot of money to get the rest of the equipment together to be able to butcher them ourselves. So at this point we're just still kind of tinkering. We will not be getting bees this year, the reason being that I'm still not terribly confident that we have enough flowers to keep them healthy. And so I'm thinking that next spring will be the year that we get bees. And that means that this year, once again, I need to really, really, really work on getting those flowers up. And the ducks have been super helpful in keeping the slugs out. And at the same time, I really need to get those flowers in and keep them protected from the ducks. And it's taken up a lot of space. The flowers take up a lot of space. I'm so surprised at how much space. With all the flowers in there, I'm having a hard time finding spaces for herbs and stuff. But that's okay. I can just plant more heavily. But every time I plant something, I have to put a cage around it to keep the ducks out. And that's the problem, is the ducks are so thorough that I have to be very, very careful that I keep everything guarded that I plant, because not only do they eat the seedlings, they eat the dirt. And so I need to work a little harder on finding a way to keep the ducks out of everything new that I have planted. Because I have plenty of space out there to plant all sorts of stuff. I just need to keep it protected once it's come up. And I think I have jabbered on for plenty of time now. I love you guys, and thank you for watching and for being my long distance friends, and you make my life better for being in it. So thanks, guys.